if you've read the comic, there are a couple of key additions that eat up a lot of screen time in this, and that I think are just the worst part. Everything about Bobbie Jo. She's a new character, which could be okay. It's just I don't think she does anything interesting. And maybe that character could become more interesting in later movies. But she has this flashback and this fear about this memory centered on her memory of losing her father as a young child, right? Mm-hmm. Did that make any sense to you?
None at all. And then I think it was like her mother being like dragged away as well at the same time. I was like a father dying, or something like that.
I think that was just their grieving, and somebody removes them so that Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like in terms of like where it was placed in the movie, like it made sense because I think the witch said something about like to like make the incantations like stronger, you have to like kind of like tap into your sadness and stuff like that. But in terms of like its like context for the character itself, it didn't really make sense. It didn't kind of like add anything to like what we knew about her, or like it didn't like give us a new kind of like perspective on the character at all. So when I saw it, it was a bit confusing. I didn't understand why that was the choice that they'd kind of gone for when they hadn't set up anything like that about her character up until that point, unless I missed anything on that.
I don't think you did. I don't think it makes any kind of sense. And so I don't think it takes her to an interesting place, and I don't think it tells us anything interesting about her, other than just she has some kind of grief or regret that the Crooked Man can tap into, or like the witches can tap into. But like none of it makes any kind of sense. So what it seems to be is that her father died from some illness when she was very young, so 20 years ago, right? When she's in her late 20s now. She was 7 or 8 when it happened 20 years ago. Just who exactly is traumatized by that to the point where they carry that with them 20 years later? Like, yes, I understand grief, but like this is the kind of thing that you get over eventually, right? Like even if it happens like in a tragic circumstances or something. But all that it seems to be is that the father died from some illness. And she seems to still carry that with her 20 years later. And it's not clear why that is a sin. First of all, the theme here is that sin remains, right? So why is this a sin and why did it remain? And also, why did she pray in German?
I didn't realize she prayed in German.
Yeah, she prayed in German. And I looked it up, and that's because the actress speaks German. Like I looked up her biography. I wanted to know, like, did they come from the actress? Did it come from the director? Like, why? Because it seem to make no sense. And the prayer is something about I've forgotten the details now, but like dream until morning comes or something like that. So just try to push through the darkness is the gist of what she's saying, and it seems to be some kind of prayer. It doesn't seem to be a Christian prayer. It seems to be some kind of affirmation that she just says. It's not clear why she's saying it in German. And it kind of, first of all, I appreciated that it was real German, because almost no German spoken in American movies is real German. It's almost all gibberish. So that's small number of points. But like it just introduced more questions, right? Like why? Like especially the historical context. Like they try a little bit to make it matter that it's the 50s and she's Asian, right? But it matters in exactly one line. And after that, it doesn't. And then they introduce the fact that she prays in German. Why? So all of that could have interesting answers, or it doesn't have to be the most profound thing. But there's nothing there at all. So it's just question marks, and it doesn't seem to add up to anything. It doesn't even suggest anything. Like to me, the pieces are completely at odds with another and just don't add up to anything.
I think her entire character is like that as well. I don't think there was really much about her character which made sense. Even the whole like relationship dynamic between like her and Hellboy kind of came out of left field for me. It didn't seem like that was like being set up as like them having some type of like connection at all in this movie. So I feel like they could have just kept her simple in terms of like her sort of being a researcher that's gone into the field and has like a vested interest in sort of like these like witches for whatever reason. And again, it could be like to do with like sort of some type of temptation or like something that like happened in her past. And then you kind of saw that I don't know whether it was like that she gave in that she was like kind of like seeing the Reverend at the end because like she'd kind of like given in or whatever. But I feel like they could have just like kept her story a little bit more focused on that, as opposed to sort of I don't know what, like trying to add all these like different aspects which didn't really like mean anything. Like they could have added like more stuff or like contextualized it a lot better to kind of like fit within her story of like exploring and having like a bit of a deeper understanding of like witches and incantations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with a character who has all sorts of academic knowledge, and then wants to get hands-on experience and gets into trouble because of that. It's just that this character does not go anywhere interesting because of that, and and she also does it in the most basic and weird way, right? She just asks Cora how magic works, right? Not like just like fundamentally, like how does it work? And she has to be told the most basic things about it. But she's been studying this all her life, apparently. And it's not even about, it's not just like it's in the books, like it actually, you like a piece of your soul goes missing when you use magic, something that doesn't come through academic study. But she just outright does not know what magic is and how it works. Why is that interesting? Why is that an interesting dynamic? Like this whole idea of theory colliding with practice, it could be interesting. And I'm on board with that character being a bit basic in this version and then gets more interesting in later versions. Like there's nothing wrong at all about that character, I think. It's just when we get to the parts where she supposedly has this deep-seated trauma that simply does not add up.